On this episode of Paint Society, we're going to learn about how to prepare a plastic bumper cover for automotive base paint. We'll determine if the bumper cover is primered or if it's bare plastic, and then with the correct materials to get it all ready and prepped for an automotive base paint job. This is a video you need to prepare yourself to paint plastics. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. Today, in this episode, we're going to show you how to prepare a raw plastic bumper using 3 easy steps. Sometimes we can overcomplicate how to prepare a raw plastic bumper. It's not as hard as you think. You got 3 easy steps. The first thing you're going to need to do is use a scuffing paste and a scuff pad. The second, adhesion promoter. Third, sealer, and you're good to go. I'm gonna show you that right now. So on bare plastic, you gotta be very careful. I go and get a gray pad, one that's been used for a little while. It's not as aggressive. They even make a gold type that's even higher up. And then you want a scuffing paste. Now this has fine abrasives in it. It will clean the plastic and it will help scuff at the same time. What I really want you guys to focus on is if you over sand this bare plastic, it's gonna be a nightmare for you. The scratches will swell when you go to put your sealer on, and it's gonna be bad news. You're gonna end up having to sand and priming the whole bumper. This should be 1, 2, 3, quick and easy. So we wanna make sure we have a glove on so we're not putting oils into the finish. And we don't really wanna dig too hard. We just wanna scuff the surface so it becomes just a little bit dull. This is gonna give us the mechanical and the chemical bond that we want when the adhesion promoter hits it. Now we use a little pressure cleaner to help us out with this. I'll first start off by just wetting up the bumper just a little bit. Then we'll get our scuffing paste and put it on our gray scuff pad, and we are good to go. And it's just that simple. We are gonna go into all the fine nooks and crannies, making sure that we have just a little bit of a scratch for our adhesion promoter to stick. This is the most important part of the stage, and this is why you'll find that your bumper is peeling if you're not prepping it properly. Now there's actually no real reason to prime the bumper and to sand it down at all. We can just use our sealer after we adhesion promoter it and go right to base coat. There's no body repairs of any sort, but it is a very good idea to go ahead and look over the bumper before you start to make sure you don't have any scratches from shipping. Now, once you got a good enough scuff, you can go ahead and wash it off. Now, after it's been dried, it should look something like this. It will have scuff marks in it. You'll be able to tell that you got it nice and scuffed because there won't be really any shiny plastic parts. But let's take a step back. Brian, how do I even know that my bumper cover is a raw plastic bumper? I'm gonna show you a couple tricks to find that out. So this is a part of the bumper that it's not gonna get painted. So we can take some reducer or lacquer thinner and we're gonna rub in this area, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at our towel. And if our towel is clear and is not marked up with any sort of primer, then we know that this is a raw plastic. Now here's another way. Same theory, this is 600 grit. I'm gonna go ahead and scuff that area. And once again, I don't have any sort of black residue transfer coming over to my sandpaper. So we know that this is a raw bumper cover. So that bumper right there is a very good OEM raw plastic condition. Now, a lot of times we have those aftermarket bumper covers or spoiler kits, and when you see them, they're really slimy looking. And they have a mold release agent. That agent is like butter, put all over the plastic, so when it's pulled from the mold, it comes out nice and easy. Now you need to get that mold release off. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can let it sit in the sun for the good part of the day and let that evaporate off, or you can take a plastic cleaner. Now I'll link this in the description. This is by R&M. At the time we were using it, I still a very good one. Now what this will do is almost leave it a little bit dull. It will remove that mold release, and from there you can go ahead and start prepping. You'll find if you don't release that or remove it, when you go to put your sealer or your primer or whatever it might be, it's gonna fisheye really bad. And if you've been there before, leave a comment because I feel your pain. So let's go ahead and let's start the next part of preparing that bumper for its adhesion promoter. Now there's two ways to kill the static. The number one way to kill the static is with the neutralizer, but I know a lot of people's budget is not going to allow for this if you're just a hobbyist. The second way is to use a anti-static surface cleaner, and that's just what we're going to use to clean the bumper and kill any static that we have left on the bumper still. And you'll just pump it up, you'll spray it on liberally, and I'm a big fan of microfiber towels. They really pull off any of the contaminants or dirt and leave the surface nice and dry. And what I also love about this cleaner is if you kind of didn't get 100% even scuff, this cleaner will go in there and kind of etch the finish just a little bit to give it a better bond for that adhesion promoter to just land right into. So the next step is your adhesion promoter or your plastic primer. Now this is a 1K product, so you can spray it out of a gun. This doesn't need any hardeners or nothing else is mixed into this, or you can just spray it right out of the aerosol, which is what we'll do because it's just an easier way to do it. And it will dry right away. Don't worry if it kind of like sweats a little bit, that's what I call it. That will evaporate, that won't be a problem. Leave it alone. It's good to go. One coat is all you really need. So we allowed our adhesion promoter to dry about a good 10 minutes or so. You can give it a little bit longer if you want, but it does flash off pretty quick. We have a sealer right here. Now the sealer is gonna go on. We mix it a little bit light. That way we can have good coverage. This is gonna give us a cushion between our paint, and it's gonna complete the process for preparing our brand new raw plastic bumper cover. I like to apply this with a 1.4. We'll put about 2 coats on, back to back. Let's head into the booth and let's start sealing. So I'm ready to seal it. I'm not tacking it because I don't wanna add any more static to the actual bumper. If I needed to, it would be okay. I could go ahead and hit it up with the neutralizer if I added any static by doing that. But for me, it's good to go. I'll go ahead and start sealing. And after just a few minutes of spraying the sealer, it's starting to flash and looking really good. We'll allow this to flash a good 15 more minutes. Make sure it's nice and dry before we hit up our base. So in a really good scenario, you don't have any dirt nibs like we have right here. Now let's say you do. Well, I want you to make sure you're not sanding out the dirt nibs in the sealer. I want you to put your first coat of base on, then you can sand out your dirt nibs with around 800 grit. If it's a metallic, if it's a solid, you can go down to maybe 600 grit. But be very careful not to go too rough. From this point, we're gonna treat it like any other job. It's ready for base, it's ready for clear. So let's go ahead and let's get jammed out. Okay, so we just got done clearing and it looks beautiful. Now, those 2 steps that we landed on the front bumper are exactly what you need to prepare a front bumper. Now, let's say you have an aftermarket bumper cover. Usually those bumpers will come with not really the best primer. It's best to take all that primer off and start with your own sealer or primer if you need to. Now, I always recommend OEM, so if you have an OEM bumper cover that does have a primer on it, those primers are really good. All you need to do is give it a good scuff with about a 400 grit, seal it and paint it. No need to scuff up the plastic and no need for adhesion promoter and all that jazz. So we're gonna go ahead and check it out. It looks great. And guys, remember, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. Let's check it out.